What's going on, guys? My name's Joe. You can find me everywhere online as Tattooed Theist. We're going to be talking about something kind of heavy today. It's going to be a rather short video. I have the day off, so I'm going to try to spend some time with my girl. Have a good night. But I got sent this today on Facebook Messenger by somebody, and I listened through it. And I'm not a Glenn Beck fan. I don't dislike him, but I'm not someone who goes out of their way to watch or listen to what Glenn Beck has to say. I respect him. I respect especially what I listened to today. I just want to be clear. I don't have any issues with him. You can only watch so much in a day. You can only listen to so many things, and Glenn Beck just isn't one of them for me personally. But listening to this, it aligns with everything that I've kind of been spouting off about since I've been back online doing this again. So I thought this was great, and I was really grateful for the guy who sent it to me. So we're going to talk about it today. It's a YouTube video called "Was Glenn's Dream Actually a Vision for Our Future?" And I'm going to shorten his, lengthy explanation of this dream. But basically what happened was he wasn't sleeping for a long time, wasn't dreaming, wasn't hitting REM sleep, so you're not having a dream cycle. After 10 years of this, he says he has this dream where he's in the White House, and I'm butchering the story, just understand that, but I'm going to tell you all the key points. So go listen to it if you want to hear the actual story. But he goes into the White House. He's followed by some dark type of entities that seem to be people, but they seem to not be political people, right? But he's in the White House. They're going into a room. He's behind him. He's being followed by these two kind of dark entities, the way that he describes it or makes it seem. And then after a while, they're in the room. The guys ask the other three people, I believe, that were with him to leave. When those three people leave, he hears 3 gunshots, assuming obviously these people were just shot. Then the dark characters that are with him peel their face off, kind of like Mission Impossible is the way he puts it in. It's well put. So they rip their faces off, and they're demonic, right? They're evil spirits. And then, they say some creepy stuff to him. But it's the imagery he's trying to get across is that we now have demonic essence within the government, within the White House. It's now political. So things that we are hearing on the news, seeing in news articles that are being portrayed as political issues, they're not political issues. They're spiritual issues. These are issues at the core of spirituality, of this spiritual war that's been going on since forever, if you're a Christian, right? So then he goes on to say, down the line, another big prominent spiritual leader, he didn't name names, asked him to come to his house. He flew out to this guy's house. He sits down, and basically the guy says one sentence to him, just telling him, you know what I'm talking about when I tell you you're going to get this dream, or that you've had this dream. You need to not dismiss what you're dealing with. And he was, just kind of blown away, because in Christianity, and if you don't know this, that's called confirmation. So you have a premonition, or you have this idea or this thought or this dream, this vision, whatever. And then in Christianity, when somebody else kind of brings it up in all too specific terms for it to be a coincidence, we call that confirmation. So he received confirmation from another really big, prominent spiritual advisor or spiritual leader, he says, and it just kind of shook him. And then he went on to kind of say that, he's been running his show since then based on that information. He's like, you can call me crazy, whatever, but it was such a big deal to him that it affected him so much that it kind of reshaped the way that he started doing his career, his show, which again, I don't watch, but I'm sure you could pick that up if you were, a daily Glenn Beck watcher on The Blaze, I believe is where his show is on. But anyway, so I'm going to play a few small portions of this, and then we're just going to briefly talk about it. But he started this whole thing out by saying, this is not political. What's happening right now is not political. And that's kind of what we've been talking about since I've been back, that it's not political. This is a spiritual thing that's being masqueraded as politics so that people are kind of tricked to get on board. So here is the first clip.
I have made choices on this show based on that. You might find that ridiculous. Maybe you don't. I will never dismiss that. I'm sharing it with you today, 10 years later, because you must not dismiss what you're dealing with. We are not in a battle of politics. We're not. politics and our whole culture has become evil. I started this hour talking.
So there's a brief kind of wrap up of what he's talking about. That's the main point of this entire video, is that this is not something to be dismissed, which we all know a lot of people are doing. I'd say the majority of people are doing, specifically within Christianity. And as we've talked about, you go back past this point of dismissal and then you start accepting. And he does touch on that at the end. I don't believe we're going to listen to it, but go watch this video. It's like 13 minutes. You know, you'll be all right. Listen to it. But it's you first dismiss, act like it's not happening, and then beyond that, you begin to subconsciously accept it. And that's what we're seeing within churches, right? That's why we have drag queens half naked dancing around in churches. It starts with dismissal. Those pastors, those preachers, those priests, whatever they are, they begin to dismiss that this is happening in the culture. And then as it starts to creep inside of their church, they continue to dismiss it, ignore it. It's not happening. It's not that big of a deal. And then you move past dismissal into acceptance. And then once you've hit acceptance with this type of demonic stuff, you have lost. And that is when you have these men dressed as women provocatively in front of a bunch of kids inside of a church dancing and lip syncing and shaking their ass. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's asinine, but it starts with dismissal. It starts with you not wanting to be involved. You not wanting to hurt anybody's feelings. You want to be accepting. You don't want to be labeled like that, right? No, well then your dismissal will move to acceptance, and then you are not only a part of the problem, you are the problem. And if you are a church or a leader in any function, and you move past dismissal, if you do dismissal, you've already failed. But if you move past dismissal as a leader in a church body, and then you become accepting of it, and you have these people in the church in front of kids, then you are the problem. You are beyond the problem. You are arguably worse than the men dressed like women provocatively dancing in front of kids, because you are a spiritual leader, and you are allowing that into your church. You are exposing the children to that. You're exposing your flock as a shepherd to that. It's absolutely asinine. The next portion here is at 9:36. It's a short one. Bear with me. Here you go.
Politically, in this particular case, I'm talking about that designer.
Balenciaga.
I do believe they know what they're doing. And we are worshiping Moloch. We are worshiping Baal, and they are demanding our children as a sacrifice.
You can tell he's beat by this.
You have to get to a point to where you are going to choose a side. There will be no one left on the benches. And if you think you can sit it out, you will end up on the wrong side.
I'm going to pause right there, but I'm going to continue on for a second. And that is exactly what we have been talking about. You cannot just stand on the sidelines of this. If you stand on the sidelines, you are a part of the problem. You are dismissing. Dismissal turns to acceptance. And then you are the problem. You're not just a part of the problem. If anybody thinks they're going to be able to sit out of this culture war, of what's been going on and what is getting worse and worse, kids are being mutilated physically. Men are dressed as women in the military. The mass confusion that is happening within adults is astonishing. And that confusion is not an accident. It's not just a result of culture, evolving over time. It's intentional. This is an attack on Christianity. It's an attack on human values, on true human values. It's an attack on America as a country. We have people in other countries that are way worse off than us that are like, dang, I'm glad I don't live in America. Those people have lost their minds. You have the merchant of death. And if you don't know about that story, look that up real quick. The merchant of death is who was traded for Brittany Griner out of Russia recently. The merchant of death did an interview after his release where he said America used to be the city on the hill, which you know what I'm referring to. He kind of butchered it, but we got the point. And he said, now America is not who the world looks to as a leader in culture. America is lost. America is broken. Coming from the merchant of death, That's very, very sad. But this is not an accident. What's happening is not an accident. It's an intelligent attack on humanity. And it's just one small piece of it. This Balenciaga thing, one small piece of it. Satanism has invaded, whether it's through religious Satanism or just Satanistic values, being selfishness, being not caring about anything other than you. You. That is everywhere. What is the biggest problem right now? Identity. What is identity? You being self-absorbed. All you care about is you, your feelings, how you feel, what people say about you, what people think about you. Look at censorship right now. Why is censorship so crazy? Because people don't want to have their feelings hurt. So we're going to tear down freedom of speech, which is a fundamental right. It's one of the things that made America so different from places like communist China. Rip it away. Accident? No. Stupid if you think it's an accident. No disrespect, but stupid. Uneducated. Under an umbrella. It's not an accident. Let's finish up.
I urge you to know who you serve. This is a different time in human experience. This is not normal. None of this is normal. And it has been coming slowly in dribs and drabs. But for those who are really paying attention, it's methodical. And it has taken an extremely disturbing turn. We're no longer talking about issues of, tax policies and how big the government should be. We're not talking about those things anymore. We are talking about the erasing of the fundamental right for you to choose between good and evil. You're being coerced right now to accept one side.
And that's true. Look at anything. Look in Hollywood. Look at what you do see as political articles or news on any major mainstream news outlet, including Fox. And I am a Fox, for what we have. Fox is about as good as it gets, mainstream-wise. Obviously, there's tons of great independent journalism, and that is where 90% of, my time goes as far as the news is concerned. But even Fox fails. Even Fox falls to this stuff consistently. But mainstream media, it is just slow, as he said, methodical desensitizing of the population. It's methodical desensitizing of our children. And that's the whole LGBTQ sex thing. And here's the problem with it is they mush everything together, like we talked about with the bill that I talked about, I think, last week. The bill where they lumped interracial in with LGBTQ. So if you went against homosexual marriage, you had to go against interracial marriage, even though most people don't care about interracial marriage. Homosexuality, people have a problem with due to religious beliefs primarily. Obviously, there are just some bigots who think it's gross or whatever, but it's primarily a religious thing. It's primarily a nuclear family where people think the nuclear family is extremely important, and a child's the raising of the child is very important. But if you go against the homosexual bill, you are going against interracial marriage too, because they put these two things together, and if you think that is an accident, you are not that bright. It's what they're doing with everything. This whole family-friendly drag queen deal. They just had a family-friendly drag Christmas, I believe, in Texas. I could be wrong. If you watch that, it is astonishing. Boobs just straight out. This girl had this weird box thing around her boobs. They were fake boobs, but they were naked fake boobs. Like kids know what that is supposed to be, whether it's flesh or not. They were doing atrocious sexual acts on stage, mocking them, but doing them. Men more than half naked, humping each other in front of children. Children were going up, their parents were letting them go up with money as if it was a strip joint and put dollar bills in these half-naked adults, lingerie, essentially. Did that happen overnight? No. It started years ago. And it slowly, methodically got worse over time. Then you had the drag queens reading to kids, story hour. How could you be mad with story hour? It's just they're reading kids the books. Cool. Then the content of the books changed, right? Then it was genderqueer, which shows sex acts, talks about fellatio, shows pictures of that. Then, it's just a book. They're just reading the book. What's next? Now we have these drag shows, family friendly, where they are literally stripping and mocking sex acts in front of kids. Why is that? Desensitization. So now the 2-year-old that's sitting out there is seeing that. No, she doesn't understand it, but it's subconscious. That's psychology. They're viewing it subconsciously. So by the time she's 4, she's already seen that. It's not new. She's not like, Mommy, what's going on? She's like, oh, I've seen that 100 times. No big deal, right? By the time she's 16, definitely no big deal. It's nothing new. We are desensitizing children to sexual acts, to promiscuity, that this is all okay. And not only is it okay, it's required. Us accepting this is required. You don't have a choice, or you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a fascist, whatever word they want to throw at you. That's what you are. If you don't play along with this. And like he's saying, you have to choose a side. And if you do not, as I said, you are dismissing and then you are accepting, and there's no other option. I do not care what you think. There is no middle ground in this twisted pedophile world that we live in now, where we are doing the most to make pedophiles assimilate into society as if what they do and how they think and how they behave and their desires are normal or okay. In no way is this normal or okay. But they are slowly making people believe it, making parents believe it. And then the parents pass that on to their kids, and then their kids believe it. And then sooner than later, you've got a full generation of people who have no issue seeing people hump on a stage in front of little kids. This needs to be a loud thing coming from Christians above anybody, in my opinion. And I believe Christians are being the quietest. It's astonishing. You see Satanism in everything. It's in Hollywood. It's subliminally put in TV shows, in kids' shows, and in movies. And we are just consuming it like freaking zombies. And then slowly but surely, it becomes normal. Unless you are keenly aware and you are a deep thinker and you are questioning everything, you are going to fall to this. And you see it a lot. Again, look at the church. They're bringing it inside the doors of the church. There's no way to talk around this crap anymore. There's just no way. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. And every time I get this crap sent to me, I just get so infuriated. I get so fucking mad. So mad. So mad. The desensitization is crazy. You need to be keenly aware. At the end of this video, he goes on to talk about being spiritually aware. You need to be plugged in to God. You need to be praying at the very least. I would be in the Word as well. I know a lot of people don't like to read the Bible, but get over yourself. Get the Bible app, get the little plans that they do where all you got to do is read a quick little, it's like 2 pages a day that you have to read. I do it every night with my kid. As an adult, you should be able to do that. You need to stay plugged in. Being constantly fed something that tells you good ethics and what is true and what is value. Otherwise, whether you like it or not, you will slowly begin to decline and slide and dismiss and then accept, and then you're gone. This is a massive, massive warning. And we are so deep into this already. And people have been so unplugged for so long that so many Christians are already, they're lost. They're gone. Gone. So everybody who's still here, stay plugged in. Read a little bit every day. Pray for sure every day. Talk to your family about good values. How does our family want to deal with this stuff? If you are a pastor or you are a group leader, or you are any sort of leader within a church body or anything where you have a voice to believers, like what I'm doing here, you need to be loud. Do not talk about pedophilia. It's rampant. Just because you don't hear about it in the little neighborhood you live in, it is ridiculously rampant. Sex trafficking of children is insane. We have more slaves today than ever in history anywhere in the world. And primarily, it is sex trafficking. There's obviously a ton of labor. Slavery is still happening in other countries, and I'm sure in America too in some places. But sex trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's happening. Don't be an idiot. Don't be selfish. Don't close your eyes when you start to hear about things you don't like or that make you uncomfortable. Be an adult, grow up, and be a part of the solution. I have nothing for adult Christians who decide to close their eyes to this. I'm just done. I'm so done. I have no hope for you. Plug into God. Stay plugged in. Talk to your family. If you're a leader, talk to the people you lead about this because it is important. It's extremely important. And it's all fun and games until somebody you know has something happen. Your kid gets taken out and becomes trans, loses their identity, for sure falls away from God. And if they stay plugged into God, it's this weird version of God that's now accepting of trans that it's completely lacking of scripture. It's lacking of anything that is true. You lose your kid. Parents, you need to be talking to your children constantly. Constantly. And if they're young, my kid's 6, you have to be very delicate with obviously how you talk about things, but talk about the nuclear family. Talk about mommy and daddy. Talk about why that is important. You don't have to say anything negative about anybody else. You don't have to talk bad about homosexuality. You don't have to talk bad about anybody. Just talk about what is good. Instill good values in your kids. I don't care if they're 2. Be an adult, be mindful, be intelligent with how you talk to them. I'm not saying don't say anything crazy, obviously, but be smart. But talk to your kids. My daughter and I talk so much, deep conversation. Always age appropriate, of course, but deep conversation. Because I don't want her to come ask me questions. I want her to already know what is true, what is right, what is of good value, how to treat people. And in no way am I a part of or do I condone treating homosexuals poorly, treating the trans community poorly. I don't at all agree with that. I hate that. Satanism, I feel kind of differently about. You got to come in a little bit. But these people are lost, man. I've been lost before. Not that lost, but I've been lost before. And if everybody just came at me like an ass, then maybe I wouldn't have found my way again. Be intelligent with how you talk to those people too. I have conversations with people of that community constantly. I don't have any inherent problem with them as a person. They're people who are lost one way or another. They're confused. Be a light. Be a friend. No boundaries, no limits. Know when you need to pull off and back away, if that comes to that. But you need to minister to people who are lost. The same as you'd minister to somebody who's cheating on their wife. Or somebody who's constantly doing illegal drugs like heroin, something crazy, not smoking weed. You need to minister. You are a missionary. If you are watching this and you believe in God, you are a missionary. If you didn't know that, surprise, you are. So we need to be talking to these people. And that is a part of you not dismissing that it's not happening. Social media is a great place to do it. Unfortunately, conversations go a little bit south quite often, but I have great conversations with people who I absolutely disagree with the way that they live their life. And they massively disagree with the way that I live my life. And that's fine. It's fine, but at least we're having a conversation. And I have had people change their minds about big things like this in the past because I love people. I don't have to agree with you to love you. I don't have to agree with you to respect you in a conversation. All of this is so important. But my point is, stay plugged into God. Stay plugged into other people who are not already your friends, who do not live like you and do not believe the same stuff as you. We need that more now than we ever have. Branch out. Take the good that you have, the truth that you know, and go outside of yourself. If the only people you're talking about God with are people at church, you're failing. In my opinion, you're failing. Get outside of yourself. It's part of why I do what I do. It's the reason I started this whole thing in the beginning, years and years and years ago. I started it as an apologetics Instagram page. I think it was called non-apologetics at the time. All I did was talk to atheists for like the first year and a half. Several of those atheists became my friends that I still talk to today. You need to branch out. And if you use my platform for that, awesome. Because I'm going to post things that are controversial. And we've already had a bunch of Satanistic conversations going on in the comments the past couple of days. It's great, but don't be an ass. Go read my comments. I try to be respectful. I get a little bit of an attitude sometimes, for sure. But I try to be respectful. I try to be funny because it keeps the mood light. And then they're more likely to continue to respond to you, right? Do ministry. But more than that, stay plugged in. Because this is just going to get worse and worse and worse and more in your face and in your face and in your face. And if you are not ready for this spiritually yourself, by staying plugged in to the word and going to church and speaking with other Christians and being a part of a small group, doing all the things you know that you should be doing because the pastor always tells you to do it, do those things. They're not just things that he says. There is validity behind why he says that. Do those things. And then once you are solid, if you are solid, branch out, take that to other people. But good God, this is going to get so much worse before anything positive happens. I'm fired up a little bit. I'm going to get off. If you're new here, what a great video to come in on. I talk about theology, culture, and a little bit of politics here and there. Been doing this for a long time. There's a ton of old videos you can look through. I'm going to be redoing some of those old videos because now they're just very out of date. And honestly, I disagree with myself in some of them. And if you don't know me, I'm a very honest person. So I'm going to put myself on blast and do some response videos to myself. So those will be coming. Next video will be Wednesday. We're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then one release on the weekend as well. You can find me on literally every social media at Tattooed Theist, including TikTok, because that is a battleground. And if you're not there, I would suggest you get there as long as you're strong, because there is some crazy stuff on there. But I think that's about it. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. Stay plugged in. Please, for the love of God, stay plugged in.